What's going on, everyone? My name is Joseph Reynolds, and today joining me is a man that's making his OKTAGON debut at OKTAGON 42 next weekend, Mr. Stuart Austin. Ahead of your next fight, how are you feeling for it, buddy?
How's it going, Joe? I'm great, thank you. Yeah, but absolutely buzzing. Excited to get back in there. Excited to be on a new show, up and coming. You know, one of these shows that's creating a lot of buzz as well. So, yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, and as well, taking a look at the promotion, I think this is probably the biggest show they've had in terms of from a UK fighter standpoint and the amount of UK fighters that are on this show. To be a part of that and then a part of this first wave of UK fighters that they're really bringing in and trying to push, what does that sort of mean to you to sort of be one of the first 10, 15 fighters to be signed from the UK?
It's cool. It's cool. Honestly, I don't really care. Like, we can all pretend like, oh, it's amazing. We're all, everyone's in it for themselves, aren't they? I like the guys. You know, I've met a few of them and they're all right. But you know, like I'm focused on the heavyweight division at the moment, and you know, it's just me then. You know, these guys can. I'm sure some of the smaller guys probably have to worry about each other. You know, if they're welterweights, middleweights, lightweights, they're probably going to be lining up in front of each other at some point. But for me, I'm just super excited to be working with them. They're a good show. They're making nice moves, and I've been given quite a clear like kind of path, career path. They've basically said, you know, if you win this and win this, then we'll, you know, this is where we want to be. So so I like it.
Yeah, and as well, something that you mentioned there, but something OKTAGON do is they always outline the plan for a fighter in terms of what they have to do and to sort of know the route that you have to get to that success within the promotion and looking at each obstacle that could come in the way. In terms of looking at that journey, is it hard not to look at that too much, or does the focus always just sort of stay focused on one fight at a time?
No, I mean I met up with with Andre, who kind of deals with the fighters with matchmaking and stuff a few weeks ago. He was over. What was he over for? He was over for the UFC in London. And we had a sit down. We you know caught up, met in person for the first time, and caught up and sort of just went through. I sort of said what I wanted to do. He said what they sort of thought where I could fit into the division. And yeah, no, it's nice. Like it's nice to have a path. You know, and obviously we're not looking ahead of what's in front of us. You know, I've got an opponent in front of me now. And I had a kind of few people I basically said yes to everyone they sent at me. And then they had someone get injured, and then you know then John came through. So then we settled on this. But for now, like everything is all about next Saturday. But you know, like of course I'm looking to. Anyone says, oh, you know, I'm only thinking this fight they're kind of a liar. You know, everyone's always looking at the next stage, making moves.
Yeah, and as well, sort of taking a look at this fight and obviously the things that come with it, the crowds, the venues, and all those sort of things, is that something that you're able to feed off of a little bit in terms of sort of looking at how much energy that there's going to be. All it takes is for a fighter to do something exciting and the fans they're behind you 100%. But is that something that you use a little bit in terms of feeding off of the energy from crowds, or what's that sort of way for you?
I don't know if I feed off the energy. I feel like I enjoy entertaining people. I do enjoy putting on a show. Sometimes to my own detriment. Sometimes I'll fight in a way that's maybe not always the most technical. But no, like I don't like, to be honest, like in the lead up to the fight, for weigh-ins, for pre-fight stuff, it can be fun to have a crowd, but on the actual fight night, it doesn't really bother me. I'm quite focused on my opponent and stuff. I don't really hear much of the crowd noise. I'm quite good at, I only hear my corner and the referee. Generally, I kind of like I phase it all out. So whether it's positive or negative doesn't actually really affect me. You know, whether people are there for me or not. Like my last fight, it was like the first time I fought in London properly for a long time, and it's only the second time I've ever fought in London, and it was amazing to have like it was under 10 minutes away from my house, and you know, and 10 minutes away from the gym where I coach at. So I had hundreds of people there, and it's the first time after a fight I actually got emotional. I was like, people were going crazy. Like I got a really, really big pop from the crowd, and I was was kind of taken aback by it a little bit because I'm used to. I've been on the road fighting in international shows and going to people's backyards for a long, long time. So it was almost weird to have a crowd that was friendly to me. Yes, that was fun. So I'm interested. I'm interested to see. I want to win some fans over there. I'd like to be, the guy that they want to see fight. I want to be the guy. I want to be exciting. I want to be winning. And be a hometown guy. Find a new hometown in Slovakia.
Yeah, and then as well, obviously mentioned in terms of having the coaching aspect as well as a fighter, and when you are able to sort of look at the sport from a different perspective, not just as a fighter but as a coach as well, in terms of sort of applying some of the thought processes as a coach to fighting, how much of a difference does those sort of things have, sort of being able to coach and corner fighters as well?
I mean, sorry, do you mean how much difference it make to me as a fighter?
Yeah, in terms of sort of what you can take away from it and some of the, when you do move the thought processes from there into fighting as well.
I mean, well, I suppose with some of it is like, you see a lot of the mistakes that other people are making, and you can kind of relate to that in terms of like how your thought process your thought process goes into the fight. Like you can, but honestly, like after, because this will be my 25th fight now, like 25th pro, so it's kind of like a lot of those I've kind of seen those mistakes anyway, even just being around people. Generally, I'm trying to now hold myself to a higher standard. I personally think I could have quite easily won the fights that I've lost if I just fought smart. And I'm very, very strict with my athletes in terms of like, I don't want to coach athletes who just want to be and at the moment we have really, really high wages in my gym. So I'm trying to hold myself to that standard. You can't ask people to do something that you don't want to do yourself. So sometimes when I maybe want to stand and bang with someone, it's now time to like look for takedowns, shoot on people, put them on their backs, look for ground and pound, look for submissions instead of just fighting for fun. Yeah, I feel like my career would probably be a little bit further on, a little bit higher up the tree if I'd been more disciplined in the past. And it's something like with my coaches I've been trying to address and trying to come to with a bit more maturity, a bit more of an old head on my shoulders.
Yeah, and having those sort of scenarios, now you sort of take a look at the regional scene in terms of the shows that there is now and all the things that come with it. It's easy to get sponsorships for them and all those different sort of things. In terms of looking at the regional scene at the moment and being a part of that with your own fighters, what are some sort of those big differences that weren't there before that are there now that's allowing fighters to progress at a much quicker rate as before?
Please tell me where these sponsorships are. Please. I would love to know where they are. I think sponsorships in the UK is a dead thing. Like, I know people who get money here and there, and it normally happens to be they bumped into a guy who knew a guy, or they had a friend who knew somebody. Like, the sponsorships in the UK is dead. Like, it just doesn't seem to be the same as abroad. I know fighters who, international fighters who, sometimes amateurs, like, and they're getting paid, right? They're getting people who want to support them and pay them. It's quite interesting in the UK. It's a really, really bad sponsorship market, and I'm not entirely sure why. I know fighters who fought, on like major promotions, some of the biggest promotions in the world, and have main evented, and they've worn brands logos, big international brands, and they've not got paid. They've just got free shorts. I'm genuinely astounded. They're putting brands out in front of hundreds of thousands of people. These can't pay them. And then I know, I don't know. I'm kind of sorry. You've got a bit of I've got a bit of a chip on my shoulder, a bit of a bee in my bonnet about that. And it's something I don't really know. I've never really understood in the UK. I've worked with several international, big management companies, and none of them have ever put anything of real significance in my pocket. And then I see, once in a blue moon, I see 3-1 amateur who got 500 followers, and apparently someone wants to pay them. And I don't get it in the UK. I don't get the sponsorship thing. I've done something wrong. Sorry, I forgot. You'll have to remind me the question. I went off on a rambling tangent.
Yeah, in terms of sort of taking a look at the differences in regional MMA now, with obviously the more platforms and things like that as to before, what are some of those big differences that are allowing fighters to now progress at a quicker rate within the country in Ireland and Scotland and Wales as well?
Yes. Well, like there's but obviously even now those opportunities just come with money now. One of my sort of like at the moment, my number one student, Mario Pinto, is a young up and coming heavyweight. He's 6-0 now as a pro, and he just fought on Levels Fight League in Amsterdam, and he fought a one night 8-man one night tournament. So he won 3 fights in the night, won the tournament, and he got 10,000 euros for that. It's incredible, you know, like that just didn't things like that, opportunities like that. I had one of my old training partners, Luke Trainer, a few years ago to get into Bellator. He did a one night tournament, 3 fights in a night, and the prize was a Bellator contract. And there were things about, but nothing quite on the magnitude of those sort of opportunities. And it's great for them. It's not like, I think some people are like, oh, you know, those were not there for me. And I'm always like, in my head, I'm like, oh, it's amazing that, like, you know, poor unfortunate people like myself had to pave the way for it with our bodies and our bones. It's great. Like, you know, I see kids who are, there's just opportunities now, you know, like it's not just ticket deals, you know, even on UK shows, you can, it sounds dumb, but you can get for your first pro fight, if you run the right show, you can get 500 quid. You know, people will actually pay you to fight. It's every show, but like I started with £100, and I know 500 is not going to, you know, pay anyone's rent, but at the same time, it's a 500% increase. You know, it's significant. It's going the right way. That said, it just still kind of seems how there's no major show really broken through in the UK as a show that can actually put money in people's pockets. You know, even the big shows in the UK, like you're really, really relying on ticket sales if you want to make any money at all. And it feels like, I don't know, since kind of the decline of Cage Rage, there's not been that show to fill the void where people could actually get paid in the UK show. Like that's why it's amazing to have OKTAGON come in. You know, they're coming in from an outside perspective and paying British fighters good earnings. Not the sort of money you can make, you know, you can make a living off, you know, you can afford to live your life off. And some of the other big shows are doing it, but it's interesting that it's still international shows coming in and doing that for us.
Yeah, and so you mentioned there in terms of obviously the fighter pay when they do go pro, and there's no real sort of governing body for the sport in the country. And I believe, I'm not too sure, there's a minimum figure now that fighters are meant to be paid as a pro, where they may not even get that anyway because there's no one to really hold anyone accountable. Do you feel as though there does need to be some form of body in place, or how do you sort of see it being to get those steps further forward?
I know you're saying there's kind of the English Mixed Martial Arts Association is starting to do some things. I'm kind of wary with too much regulation. I fought out in South Africa a few times, and my striking coach is from South Africa. And the big thing he says is they basically regulated the amateur MMA into non-existence and the low-level pros. So the problem is like if every show has to go through a governing body, it's in theory it's great and very well and good, but like some young kid can't afford to pay for his medicals, therefore he doesn't get to fight. Someone not pay for all the unless it's voluntary, and if it becomes like an official, you know, legally you have to be this to do this. The problem is, like I say, in South Africa, obviously they're poorer than us, but I think a lot of the smaller shows really, really struggle or just don't exist because all the fight, you know, in theory, it's nice. The idea of having fighters blood tested and medicals is really great and really important for future safety of the sport. But if you turn around to some young kid who's, you know, working part-time in a shop, you know, to barely pay his bills, and fighting on the side and saying, oh, you've got to get a brain scan and then, you know, blood tests and then, a doctor's a full medical, then all of a sudden you've got to pay £1,000 just to have your first fight. And you've got to do it every year. It can kind of become a limiting factor. That said, you need it at a certain level, you know, like that's why shows like Cage Warriors, you know, they have the medicals there, you know, as they get bigger, you've got to have that. It has to be a part of it. But I don't really know the right answer for it, really. It's difficult. They sort of tried it a few years ago with Safe MMA, when I was in Bama, and I like the idea of it, but like fighters in Bama, you know, like I was a champion of Bama, and I was getting 1,500 plus a small win bonus, and then you need to pay once a year. You need to pay out over £1,000 in medical expenses. You know, it's so hard to do it as a fighter. You know, you're paying to fight. Never mind being a professional. It can make it difficult, too much regulation. But that said, the guys who are working in those things, guys like Mark Goddard behind the scenes, they are only doing what they think is best for the sport, and they're trying to make it easier. They're trying to, even with those different things, they try to like help and subsidize it for guys. But it's not an easy problem to solve.
100%. And then in terms of sort of taking a look now, in terms of at that coaching aspect as well, and looking at the sport and the stigma that was around it and the stigma that's still around it now, do you feel as though it's also a bit more of more of an inclusive sport in terms of there seems to be a lot more people getting involved, whether it just be a hobbyist or someone that wants to compete? How many more people are you sort of seeing come into this sport as before?
Oh, loads, absolutely loads more. Just so many more people from different backgrounds now. Boxing, Muay Thai, you know, most MMA, you know, coach. There's, you know, pretty much anyone can do it. At Fight Zone, where I coach and train at in London, you know, we've got people, you know, we've got tots from 4, 5, 6 years old doing jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and boxing, all the way, you know, like, and then you've got people on the mats who are in their 60s and 70s, you know, and obviously they're in the minority, but it is available to them, and it's becoming more accessible. It's not just about, you know, when I started, it was the hardcore of guys, you know, people turning up, you know, everyone who turned up to that gym was a hard person. And if they weren't, they didn't turn up to the gym very long. It wasn't a friendly environment. It wasn't accessible. The coaching wasn't great because people hadn't learned how to coach, how to develop people. You know, like just because someone's not a rough, tough guy doesn't mean that in 5 years' time they couldn't be really, really fucking good at sport. You know, they just might need a bit more coddling at the start, a bit more, you know, like babying. But just, I mean, the standard of the sport from when I started to now is just different. It's not even, you know, it's nothing to do with each other. It's like night and day. It's amazing. It's good. It's all a good thing.
Yeah, and then just getting back to sort of the fight as well that's coming up, in terms of sort of looking at that fight and what you're wanting to do, in terms of making a statement, is that the main aim in that fight, to sort of make a statement to the fans and show them exactly what you are able to sort of do in the cage, or what are you sort of looking to do with this next performance?
The main aim of this fight is to win at all costs. Win at all costs. It doesn't matter. I don't care how I win. Yeah, definitely. Everybody wants to, you know, everyone wants a submission or a knockout, TKO, whatever. I want to win however I have to. Yeah, I'm like, if I get in his face straight away and I feel him wilting under the pressure, I'm going to knock him out. If I have to, you know, take him down, beat him up, submit him, so be it. You know, if he's tough and he's not going to go out there, I will grind on him for 3 rounds. You know, batter him. It is what it is. I'm going to do what I have to do. You know, I'm here to go in deep water.
Yeah, and then as well, if you've had the chance to, in terms of sort of looking at the division and the people that are in there and the outlook of the division, sort of looking at where you sort of fit in and what comes after this fight, where do you sort of see yourself after this fight, obviously, without going too far ahead in terms of what's next?
I'm assuming you're asking about the other guys in the division.
Yeah.
There's a few decent guys. a guy, I want to say Lazard Todev, just fought and won, and he's on, I think, a 5 or 6 fight win streak now. He looks pretty decent. Hatif Muel, lad who trains out in Germany, is looking pretty solid. He's got a good record. I could see myself fighting him in the future. And you know, that's only a couple of, there's a bunch of good guys. Who Lazard just beat, Adam somebody. I was meant to fight a Brazilian man. Have you heard of a Brazilian man in MMA?
The only one I can think is Javier, maybe.
No, Valison Carvalho. I was meant to fight him, but he had to pull out. He had a shoulder injury from his last fight. So, you know, there's loads of people in the division and loads of people with good records, with experience, and, you know, like, most of them are big, physical, aggressive guys. You know, guys are coming to win. So I think the thing with the heavyweights at the moment is it's going to be exciting pretty much no matter what. Yeah, people are, you know, like, there are a lot of guys that are going to get after it and look to scrap. So I'm excited. I want to get in that 5-round fights again. You know, I'm in the 5-round fight club. I've won a 5-round decision before, so I think that's only going to benefit me. Like, most of these heavyweights, you know, they're too fat and slow and out of shape. You know, like, even the guys who look like they're in shape have no gas tank. So, like, I'm excited to get back in the 5 rounds, the 5-round business. You know, wear these guys down, let them huff and puff and blow themselves out.
Yeah, and then just a final thing for myself is, in terms of what you're looking to show the fans, what is it that they can expect to see come fight night if they're yet to hear the name Stuart Austin?
What they can expect to see is a man who should not be on the undercard. I am horrified to be on the undercard. I was shocked, literally. They said, "Oh, you're going to be on the undercard," and I was like, "Oh, I am a main card. I'm a main event fighter, and that's what I expect." You know, the next card, if I'm going to be on the main card for sure, if not main event, yeah, I'm going to entertain people. Yeah, if it's an entertainment sport, and some of these boring dicks on the main card, you know, that it's like watching paint dry. You know, I'm gonna be an exciting fight. I'm gonna be a good interview afterwards. I'm gonna, you know, after I get my hand raised, I'm gonna call a name. I'm gonna tell them what I want. You know, I'm gonna tell the guy that, you know, the bosses. I'm gonna say, look, this is how it's going. This is the next guy I'm gonna fight, and that's what I'm gonna win if I fight it. You know, I'm gonna come and I'm gonna put my mark on this division. It's gonna be my division in the next couple of years.
Well, there you go. That's everything from myself. If you'd like to take a chance at any sponsors, anything like that, obviously feel free to go ahead.
Just thanks to Marcus Paul with Kenyan MMA. Thanks to Rowan Katsu, Combat Coach UK, and Fight Zone and Fight City, where I trained. Any sponsors, by all means, go for it. Yeah, I don't believe you're gonna hit me up. No one wants to offer money. Everyone wants to, you know, offer me like a CBD, but I want the cash.
There we go. Well, that's everything from myself. You heard the man himself. He wants some cash for none of your CBD or your shorts with a couple of logos on. But there you go. I appreciate your time, buddy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers, mate.
Appreciate it.